We in Buffalo mode, no time for second guessing, built different, yeah, we follow one direction.
So Greg, as long as I got you here and you're the polymeric sand resident expert, right? I want to talk to you about a couple words that just fly around this industry and just come out of people's mouths, you know, faster than this rapid set sand, and that's polyhaze, right? Those two words, you hear them all the time. They cause difficulties for our contractors. And, you know, it's the first thing that they tell the client is when they see a white residue on their paver. When it could be a number of other things, we're quick to say the words polyhaze. You're the man, Greg. What is polyhaze and how can we avoid it?
That's a great question. And there's kind of two parts to that. There's polymeric haze, and then there's polymeric staining. So let's get into the difference of those.
Okay.
So polymeric haze is actually coming from polymers. Now, Polysweep, when we came into the market 15 years ago, that was kind of our claim to fame as entry. The old polymeric sands used to have Portland cement in them, which would stain, so we got rid of that. And the old polymers used to be white, and ours are now clear in our mix, so we got rid of that. So Polysweep is and always has been haze-free. When you get a polymeric haze, it's truly a haze. It typically comes from the polymers, often white, that are sticking to the surface of the paver.
So it's a material in the product, in the sand already.
Yes.
That's being left on the top.
Yes. So
but this product is not in your sand.
It's not in ours. Well, that's not true. The polymers are in there.
They're clear.
But they're clear. That is really what initially sent Polysweep apart and kind of changed the industry. We were the first haze-free, and we've been haze-free with the same formula for 15 years.
So when someone says that they have polyhaze on their pavers and that they used your sand, you're not going to believe them right away.
I'm probably going to doubt what they're saying, yes. But there are sands on the market that do haze. And because they're using like the box store sands to call them out, they still use Portland cement, which is really, it stains instantly. It's hard to get off. You know, it's Portland cement.
You might sweep it across and have polyhaze right now.
Instantly.
Sure.
Yep.
It doesn't always come from leaving it on top.
No, especially the
bad product.
Yeah. Or it's an inexpensive sand, so you kind of get what you pay for.
And I'm not using anything else box store out here, so.
Right, exactly. So then the polymers, especially when they're white, can tend to stick to the surface. That's why we use clear polymers. So that's truly a polymeric haze. There's a couple ways to get that off. Usually I'll start with our Efflo-Off. We'll do a cleaning of Efflo-Off, and if it's Portland cement, that usually takes care of that, and it will take care of some polymers.
And what if it's efflorescence?
Efflorescence will look an awful lot like polymeric haze. There's an easy test for that. So if I've got white rings on the surface, if it's chalky, it's more likely efflorescence.
Which would be the manufacturer's problem?
Not necessarily. I mean, all the commercial grade manufacturers like Unilock and others, they put additives in there to prevent it. Okay. But it's naturally occurring in cementatious material.
It's kind of a random thing.
It's real random. Like, you know, you could get it or not get it, and the concrete manufacturers are doing everything they can to prevent it.
It's a byproduct of a precast concrete product.
It is. Any concrete product.
Sure.
You see it in masonry joints. You see it in poured concrete. You see it in basement block walls. Yeah. I mean, anything cementatious or concrete can have efflorescence.
So I just think that's what guys confuse it for sometimes.
They do. There's an easy test for that. So if there's something white on my pavers, if I get a phone call, I'll be like, well, does it disappear when it gets wet and then reappear when it dries out? That's most likely efflorescence. And the Surebond Efflo-Off will take care of that as well. So for my polymeric haze, I usually start with customers with that. If I know what the sand is, I can kind of point them in the right direction. If the Efflo-Off isn't the solution, and it's truly a polymer haze and not a Portland cement haze, then oftentimes a hot pressure washer coupled with a surface scrubber will take that right off of there.
Polyhaze will come off.
Yep, it'll take it right off of there. Now we have to be careful with that because it may also take the polymeric sand out of the joints.
Okay.
If we fully activated the joint, it'll tolerate a little bit of that. But hot water hot pressure washer is a good solution for that. The third option, which is kind of a nuclear option, is our Surebond All Strip, and we can clean it off with the Surebond All Strip. And the reason I say nuclear is because that will definitely affect the joints.
Okay.
So at that point, we're kind of starting over with the sand.
Yeah.
And oftentimes it's caused by not blowing off the water when we're done activating the polymeric sand. It could be caused by a problem with the polymeric sand, a manufacturer defect, but typically it's basically the polymers sticking to the surface or the Portland cement sticking to the surface.
So Greg, how do we avoid polyhaze?
The easiest way to do that is to just use polysweep. We've always been haze-free, 15 years. So let's kind of circle back around and talk about the polymeric staining.
Oh yeah, right.
So
We talked about polyhaze. Now we're talking about polystain.
right, which is a completely different thing.
Okay.
So if my pavers are damp, even if I think they're dry, and natural stone, bluestone, clay pavers are notorious for this. Even concrete pavers, you might think they're dry, but they have some dampness in them. What's going to happen is it's going to grab the polymers and that mix, and it's literally going to stick it to the surface. And oftentimes it will instantly turn dark. In other situations, you can get a stain from the sand being left on the surface. You know, people call me and say, hey, you know, I have polymeric haze, and they send me a picture. Well, they have polymeric sand on the surface of the pavers.
Yeah.
That's not a haze.
Or they still have, what you said was they still have moisture in the paver that we can't even see.
Yes.
That draws the sand down in, you know, draws the polymers down into a little bit.
Right.
And stains that.
Right, which is a stain as opposed to a haze.
Yep.
So not to split hairs about that, but there's a difference.
Yeah.
Even though the solutions are similar, you know, the Surebond Efflorescence or the hot pressure washer or the Sure Strip, there's other options that we could even choose with that. If you catch it immediately, like with polysweep, if we find a wet paver, maybe we have a leaky gutter or something, and we sweep over it and the sand instantly sticks to it, I can immediately address that while I'm putting the sand in. When I start to water, I can get that area wet and scrub it off with a brush, which is another benefit to the polysweep not being fast setting. With the fast setting sands, boy, once it gets wet, you're done. And it's almost impossible to get that off.
Yeah. There's a couple reasons that we like to work with SEK Surebond, and I'm sure you heard them all right there, right? The callbacks that we're talking about, the watering problems, the polymeric haze problems, they don't exist with this product, right? We have a lot of things to deal with when we're out here in battle and we're out here in a hardscape war. We want to have things like the finishing things set us up for success and be foolproof and be the best on the market.
Welcome to Hardscape Mentor, the go-to training platform for learning real job site skills, anytime, anywhere.
They see the shine, but they don't see the pressure. Every move I make is my greatest treasure. Hardscape meant to show me how to pave the way. Stacking up the wins for a brighter day. We level up, we level up. That's right. Taking everything, fill the cup.